Welcome back to the weekly movie and TV roundup. This week, we're doing it for week 4, 5, and 6 of 2024. I apologize for not being on that weekly grind, but I did get really sick for like almost 2 weeks, and there was just no way I could actually get on camera. I still did the podcast if you have been keeping up with it, but even that had to shift around because it was really bad, and it seems like I also have long COVID. Been taking a heavy break on all of the stuff that I wanted to do for 2024. I hope to do this as much as I can every week for the rest of the year and also bring you some reviews. I got some stuff cooking. But without further ado, we have so much to talk about, over 30 titles that I'll just like really briefly go over because we literally don't have time for more. And starting it up with the thing that's been on screen the whole time. I'm kind of out of it. It should be on full screen, but you've already seen that it's Argylle. Argylle is atrocious. I really hated it. Matthew Vaughn just misses completely with this one. So much CGI, so much dumb storytelling twists. Way too much of an investment from Apple's side for $200 million for this one. They're definitely gonna lose a shit ton of money on it, and there's not even the merit of having someone like Scorsese or Ridley Scott direct something impactful for them. Instead, it's just a really dumb action thriller that we could have done without. So Argylle, I'd say it's also the bottom of worst. It's really bad. Actually, no, take that back. There's some really horrible films that we're going to talk about now. Freelance is out on Hulu. If you want to see it, I wouldn't recommend it, but it is out on Hulu now. Really bad. Dexter Musical lands on Max with that deal that they have with A24 after the sale or rent period is over for like that digitally. The first streaming service that A24 projects will end up is Max, and that's exactly where you can find it right now. I thought it was horribly unfunny. It might be more you thing. I hated it. The Painter, continuing on the strike of having the bricklayer, the beekeeper, and now the painter. I hope for the rest of the year. That's actually the real reason why we had to hold off on doing more of these weekly track roundups. Sorry, slip of the tongue there. I'm not Anthony Fantano, and I'm not bald yet, but having a like professional title like the beekeeper or painter tied in with an ex-assassin that is now forced to come back into the fold. This is that, the painter, but it's probably the worst of the three that I've seen this year. So yeah, skip out on this one, even though you can see that Jon Voight is on screen here and he's also in the movie. I don't know why he did this, but it's not a good film. Underdogs, The Underdogs. Snoop Dogg does a movie where he coaches a bunch of kids. He's a retired NFL player. Basically, this whole story ultimately leads to like the final moment where on screen it says that Snoop Dogg has been funding NFL prospects and like the stuff in real life to actually get people in the sport, which is a great thing ultimately. This whole movie feels like it serves to build to that. It never actually kind of builds to that. It also is horribly unfunny. And yeah, I don't know. It was really rough to sit through this one. I had to give it like 3 goes, which is basically how it feels to watch football because it's so stop and go. Really not my sport. I mean, as you can tell, I'm into a different kind of sport that is a bit more fast moving. But hey, if it's a movie about NHL or hockey, I'm here all day. But football, Snoop Dogg, can't recommend it. The Tiger's Apprentice. This one has an interesting story because it's been in productions for a long time. It definitely is a reaction to the Spider-Verse films done by Paramount. This is now streaming on Paramount with Showtime, and it has like a lot of like behind the scenes stories that are just kind of terrible to hear, where it's about I guess this superheroes, not superheroes, but I guess spiritual beings that are tied to the Chinese zodiac signs, and I guess there's a tiger, and he's the tiger's apprentice. I feel like this movie is horrible looking. The story is really bad, although it has like a really incredible cast. When you look at it, it just feels like they shoot one in here and wasted everyone's time, unfortunately. So I'm not going to waste more of yours. Skip out on The Tiger's Apprentice, but I doubt you've even heard that this one's out, that it's even in production. Next up, which brings me to you, Lucy Hale, Nat Wolff have zero chemistry. I feel like I rarely see a film where Lucy Hale actually has chemistry with someone. I haven't seen Nat Wolff in as many. Actually, no, he's been in a bunch of romantic comedies, but This is basically them telling each other, which brings me to you, like about their past relationships, and it does like a quirky thing where it tells the story, and the other one's in there commenting, giving snarky regards while they tell it. And that part is okay. It's just like really formulaic and ultimately kind of boring. I mean, it's a slop that you sometimes put on and you do something differently with a significant other. That's how else specific I'll get. This is the type of movie you can have that on in the background, and it's not gonna distract you from anything. ISS, so this was in theaters, I think at the start of the year. I don't know if it even came out, maybe even last year. I don't remember, because, well, it just kind of came and went. It's about the International Space Station. There's 3 Americans, 3 Russians up on there. War breaks loose down on Earth, and they have their secret missions, respective missions to take control of the space station. And from there's a bunch of intrigue that ultimately, like, kind of is shot really simply, and it feels kind of underwhelming the way that it's presented. I'm not really getting much from any of the characters, really underwhelming. And yeah, I was quite bored with this one. Miller's Girl, now this was definitely shot before Jenna Ortega kind of exploded onto the scene and got bigger and better roles. Here she's with Martin Freeman, and has like this certain allure of maybe using him for a story, using his interest in her that is inappropriate because she's his student in a way. And it's just like, with that premise, it doesn't really do anything interesting, and it just kind of ends when I thought like, oh, okay, what's going to happen next? And then just the movie just ends. So another one to skip out on, only, I guess, for the Jenna Ortega completionists. Then finally, for the worst section of this last couple of weeks, The Marvels is now streaming on Disney+. I feel like it's the perfect place to go give it a try if you've missed it. I mean, if you got Disney+, then there you go. Let's get to some better titles. First up, Dogman, the latest from Luc Besson, is now available digitally as well. Caught this back in Venice. I haven't revisited yet, but I'm sure we'll do like a proper short review on the Quiet on Set channel if you're interested. I feel like this was really not my thing. It has, I don't know, I'm just also not like the biggest dog person. To me, the story wasn't really compelling, but hey, maybe give the trailer a watch. Link below as well, by the way, all the trailers, and see if it's more for you. I just found it a bit messy. The Kitchen, this one's streaming on Netflix and is about this future where there's the kitchen. I guess it's sort of a reference to Hell's Kitchen in New York, but I don't think it's taking place in New York if I remember correctly. And it's about this guy who works at this sort of cemetery-like place where people are turned into plants, and then there's this younger character who lost his mother, and she's at that institution. Basically, there's this like step-in father figure that he is looking for, and tensions that come with that because he might be going down the direction of I guess having father figures that aren't as great role models, but the lead character also isn't. So it's all of that packed into this slightly futuristic story. I think it's decent. It didn't blow me away though. I feel like it's a fairly entertaining watch. Next up, The Book of Clarence. Now, I love Lakeith Stanfield, and the last film of the director, who I'm blanking on right now, The Harder They Fall, is streaming on Netflix. I think that one was pretty decent as well. This one just is more like a period piece of the time around the story of Jesus as it unfolds, as like this guy tries to I guess hustle his way into becoming this messiah person himself. There's a bunch of humor in it, but it also feels like it's got like a more serious undertone in moments. I just found it a bit boring, the way that it takes to get the story going, but it's then more about like this time period and like having fun with the sets and all of that. I wasn't really in there, so only a mild recommendation from me. This one's out on premium video on demand. American Star. So although this is about a retired assassin on like a last mission, it doesn't qualify for the Beekeepers of the Year, unfortunately, because like American Star. I mean, what does it mean? It's not like it's, I don't know, America's Next Supermodel, and that's a profession he had, or I don't know what other American. No, it's not a profession, so it doesn't count, unfortunately. So the film is alright. It's got a pretty okay lead performance by Ian McShane, and I don't know, it just kind of takes a while to do anything, and then it just kind of gets lost in the sauce of like who's aligned with who and who's betraying who. I just kind of tuned out of this one. Can't really say I'd recommend it. It's okay, but there's some better things out there, like Mean Girls. If you want to be entertained, I mean that one's still out in theaters. I assume it's gonna be out on streaming by the time I guess this goes live soonish. So yeah, you could just also wait for this one until it's on streaming. It's not it's a sort of remake of the original, but not really because it's an adaptation of the musical. But the musical is obviously based on the original. So like, there's a bunch of lines that they do that you notice from the original, and apart from Renee Rapp as Regina George, I don't know if there's like a ton of highlights in there. I feel like everyone else's casting is just kind of lesser than it was before in a way, but she's incredible. She's amazing. She's also like a great singer as well. Just all around great person. And Garais Wright, I think is her name, just doesn't really work for me as the lead role. Her singing is not really up to par, and yeah, just ultimately makes it just like a lesser version. I feel like I'd much rather go see the musical or the original again, but yeah, it's okay. Then Wonka, still, my God, that movie made so much money at the box office, it's crazy, and I think it still is in theaters in some places, but it is also out digitally right now. So yeah, we talked about this one before. Keep it brief here. I mean, it's charming, it's colorful. Used a different poster this time, but that's all I have to say about Wonka. The Beekeeper, and I've mentioned that a couple of times, also different poster here, is also out on digital, so go give it a try. Yeah, we have a separate review for that on the Quiet on Set channel if you want to hear more of my thoughts, but it's decent. Shortcomings, I haven't talked about this one on the show, but it's now out on Netflix in the States. Randall Park's debut feature, and yeah, based on a graphic novel, as it said at the bottom here. I think it's just like the shortcomings of a central character that is despicable, but maybe he wants to get better, maybe he doesn't. Who gives a fuck? It's just really interesting to see him. I think also Justin H. Min is someone who's really compelling to watch. I've seen in a lot of different roles, like in After Yang. He obviously had a very different performance as a Yang, but yeah, really, really fun film overall. Go give that one a try. Expats, series over on Amazon, I think. I don't know. I've only watched the first couple of episodes. Gonna wait until the series is wrapped. I'm not convinced, though. I feel like they do have sort of the fundamentals of maybe making a good story. It's about these expats that are stationed in Hong Kong. Yeah, all of the shenanigans, all of those intrigues, thrillers, or whatever that's happening there. I'm just like not in the story yet. It hasn't really hooked me, but I feel like there's something good that they could build to. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, no, I totally missed this. I watched this like a month ago, and there was like heavy embargoes for it for a while. Now it's come out all in one day, and I feel like I've missed the train for it again. But I think it's pretty entertaining. I just can't shake the feeling of what it would have been like to see Phoebe Waller-Bridge alongside Donald Glover in this one. It's fine, the casting. Otherwise, I'm blanking on what her name is. Maya Erskine. She's great, and I think there's a lot of good stuff in there. There's a lot of like cameos. It also has like certain tonalities that you can just kind of expect with these projects that involve Donald Glover, like Atlanta-esque type of shows, and it definitely takes a different approach to this story that we got in like 2005 or 6, right, with Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. It's okay. It's fairly entertaining. It takes some swings. I didn't love the whole thing though, so that's why it's only decent. But Marley, One Love, certainly biopics, musical biopics are not really reinventing the wheel, but Marley certainly doesn't do that. I think it just kind of delivers what you expect from it and nothing more. I also thought Kingsley Ben-Adir didn't completely work in a role, and I love him when sometimes even when he does historical figures like Malcolm X. I think he nailed that one in One Night in Miami, but just this didn't really work for me. Ultimately, it does have all of the cornerstones to like make a movie, a decent film, but just not one that actually engages me. But I can't say it's like terrible. It still is better than many other musical biopics, but it's just like a genre that is not great. And I guess in a couple of weeks we get the Amy Winehouse one, Back to Black. Again, it all feels like more of the same. But speaking of music and pop stars, this little doctor premiered at Sundance, and then quickly came to streaming on Netflix. The Greatest Night in Pop was actually a really pleasant watch. I can't really put it into best, but it is close to that because it just kind of captures this moment in time. It's not really an incredibly assembled documentary that is like groundbreaking in that way, but it just kind of captures something special. So that's why it makes it stand out. And I had a good time with this one, but let's get to the best stuff of the week. First up, a repeat, Fallen Leaves is now out of theaters and available on VOD, so go give that a try. Charlie Kaufman wrote the screenplay adaptation for this one, and I mean, it does have the Pixar-esque representations of different things in sleep here, where you get like actual sleep, like quiet dreams, some sort of anxiety, like stuff like that. And it's pretty sweet. I think this movie really shines in the back end, where it kind of ties things together, the way that it's assembled story-wise, and I would definitely credit that to Charlie Kaufman and how he kind of ties this together. I'm not familiar. I think it's based on like a children's book as well, but it just really works, and I was taken off guard because I thought the trailers didn't look good. The start didn't completely engage me because I couldn't really connect with this character that has so much anxiety about literally everything. It kind of alienates you at one point, but it kind of ties it really well together in a larger sense. I don't want to give anything away. I think this is worth checking out. I think I can pretty confidently say that it's gonna be like in the top 5 animated movies by the end of the year, maybe from the outside looking in, but certainly worth considering. Next up, You Hurt My Feelings. I haven't talked about this one here as well, but it's now out on Paramount with Showtime, so on streaming, but it's already been out digitally for a while. A24, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, marital struggles, where he basically admits to her that he didn't like the latest book she wrote. She's an author, and then the kind of all of the insecurities that come from that, like honesty in a relationship that far into it. There's also about a bit about parenting, all of that. I think it's just really stellar. I liked it quite a bit, and not a lot of people hear about it. So here's me telling you, go see this one. It's worth checking out. All of Us Strangers. Now, speaking of something worth checking out, my God. So on the podcast recently, we talked about All of Us Strangers, so you can go check out full-on spoiler review for that one. I think it's incredible. Paul Mescal is great, but Andrew Scott, holy shit. Just really, really intriguing. It's out in theaters in some places internationally now. I know it's already been out in the States, and there's also a digital version of it, so go with that a try. The Promised Land is now out in limited release in the States. I know it's gonna play in some places internationally. I think it has yet to come out for me here in Switzerland, but I caught this one back in Venice, and next week I'll mention it again because it comes out digitally. But this is just a stellar period piece with Mads Mikkelsen at the center of it all. Definitely gonna give this a full-on spoiler on the Quiet on Set podcast channel again, so go check that out. But in the meantime, go watch it. How to Have Sex is taking a bunch of BAFTA nominations. I think those are about to happen this weekend as well. So How to Have Sex, I think worth giving a try as well. I talked about it, I think, a bunch. It is now finally out in US Limited. For a while, I thought it was already out in the States, but I guess that was only in the UK and here. But go give that one a try. Fargo, the 5th season. I haven't watched the first 4 seasons, and I haven't seen the original Fargo film in a long time. But Juno Temple, Joe Carey, John Hamm. Oh my God, what a pleasant watch. Yeah, Fargo. If you haven't heard of Fargo or anything, you don't need to watch the 4 seasons before that. You can just start with this 5th one, like I did, because it is an anthology series. It's completely like True Detective, which, by the way, is also wrapping this week. I'll talk about it, I guess, next week. But Fargo, go give that one a try. Death and Other Details. No, I haven't finished the series yet because not all 10 episodes are out yet. I think I've seen the first 6, and it's pretty entertaining. I think it can definitely not stick the landing. But so far, I think it's a murder mystery story that has me intrigued. Each episode has something to reveal that doesn't feel like it's at the expense of logic or just having a big twist there. I feel like it builds a story, well, not like perfectly. It it's definitely more closer to like decent than some of the other things I've talked about this week. I hope this murder mystery sticks to the landing. I think the finale comes out on March 5th, so I'll talk about it again in that week. Then Masters of the Air, same as I guess all the shows that I've talked about. I've only seen the first 4 episodes for this one. I think there's also 10. And yeah, there's something big that happens. This is something big that happens each episode. I haven't seen the Band of Brothers, but it just made me want to sit down and binge that whole show as well. I feel like there's a lot of characters that are gonna appear like later into the show as well, and it's got some darn good performances. To me, like this is so far like technically, performance wise, story wise, really nailing it. I'm digging it. So Masters of the Air on Apple TV Plus. Then American Fiction is out on VOD at the moment. I think it's only sale. You can't rent it, so maybe you got to give it another week. We talked about this one on the podcast in full on spoiler fashion recently as well. And yeah, Jeffrey Wright nailing it. It almost made my top 10 like retroactively after I actually like finalized my top 10 a while ago for 2023. This is just like really solidly entertaining. And I'm hoping it might take an award at the Oscars. I don't think it will, but certainly worth checking out. Then Down Low. This I think it premiered at South by Southwest, and I caught up with it when it came out on streaming. And I think I've talked about it on this show as well, but now it is streaming on Netflix in the States, so go give that a try. Lucas Gage is going to help you unlock your gay sexuality. Yeah, it's just like, it's so much fun. It's so over the top at times, really good, solid, entertaining, like 80-90 minutes, also short film. Go give that one a try if you have Netflix and a VPN, if you're located outside of the States. And then finally, Cobweb, not to be confused with the other film called Cobweb, that this one, by the way, did it first before the other one came. And then yeah, unfortunate that these two films are gonna get caught up with each other like Cobweb, unironically. But just to sell you this movie real quick, I mean, it is easy. You got Song Kang-ho as the lead. He plays a director here who is doing this genre flick about like this spider in there as well, and it just like is really chaotic directing stuff. I really like the behind the scenes peeks that are just doing a story about them making a film. More often than not, they are actually quite compelling, and it comes from director Kim Jae-won, who you might know from a little film like I Saw the Devil and a bunch of other, like A Tale of Two Sisters. There's a ton of stuff that this guy has done that are amazing. I would also add Cobweb to that. I think it was a lot of fun, and also like you can expect for South Korean cinema at this point, especially the one that breaks out onto the Western scene, it balances tones and different genres quite well, where it doesn't really need to feel like the story needs to stick to one specific thing, but it just kind of flows in whatever direction is best. I really dug it. So that's all the stuff for this week. The recording is quite long. I don't know how long the actual video is going to be, but hey, hopefully I'll be back next week. Again, a couple of the films I talked about, we dedicated a full spoiler review to on the Quiet on Set podcast, so go give that a try if you want to. The trailers for all of the stuff that I've talked about are linked below, so go give that a watch if you're not sold on it completely. And then hopefully you end up watching a bunch next week. So let me know in the comments below what you're going to watch and what you liked, and I'll see you next week. All right, bye bye. Stay healthy. Please stay healthy, because I'm trying, but we'll see. Bye bye.